Zara woke up before the sun could yawn, before birds remembered to sing, before the dust even rose from the ground. No alarm, no knock, just her body jerking awake, like it had heard poverty whispering outside again. She sat up on the cold floor, her back stiff from the cement beneath the torn mat she slept on. She didn't stretch. There was nothing to stretch for. Another day was calling, not with hope, but with hunger. She reached for her mother's faded wrapper, the only thing left of the woman who had once called her Zerum, a name that meant God answered me. But life hadn't answered back. It had just kept taking. The small one-room shack she lived in was dark and quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that meant nobody cared whether you existed. She pulled a dented tin cup of water to her lips, sipped just enough to fool her stomach. She tied her headscarf tightly, not for style, but to hide the patches of missing hair. Then she picked up her broom. The compound was already breathing dust. Zara swept it slowly, her thin fingers wrapped around the wooden handle like it was the last thing keeping her from falling apart. Dust danced into the air like smoke from yesterday's hunger. But she didn't mind. Her 13-year-old body was used to it. Before light, before food, before anyone even called her name, and even when they did, it was never with love. By 6 a.m., she was walking down the Red Earth Road with a nylon bag in hand. Inside it, one old book, a torn handkerchief, a dry piece of Gary wrapped in newspaper, and a notebook with strange symbols and words scribbled in different languages. Her sandals made a flap-flap sound with every step, one strap already missing. But her mind was moving faster than her feet. In her head, she whispered words she had memorized. Comment allez-vous? French. Donde está el baño? Spanish. My name is Zara. German. No one ever asked why she was always murmuring to herself. Because no one ever saw her. She arrived at the tall glass office building by 7 a.m., the one that sparkled like it didn't belong to this world, where people wore shiny shoes and spoke fast English, where laughter echoed in AC-cooled rooms, and where Zara, the office rat, cleaned the bathrooms and mopped the floor. No one greeted her. The receptionist looked at her like she was a stain. The HR assistant threw a wrapper on the ground. Zara, clean this. She nodded and bent down silently. Same as always. There was something about Zara that made people uncomfortable. Not because she was loud, but because she was too quiet. And when she did speak, it was strange. Sometimes it was a word in French. Other times, something no one recognized. Which talk? One cleaner whispered once. They didn't know she had taught herself 9 languages. Not to show off. Not for school. Just because words made her feel less invisible. At lunch, she sat alone near the back staircase. While others laughed and scrolled their phones, she opened her notebook and whispered new words to herself. Her lunch was cold rice and dry okra stew packed from home. But her real food was a German phrase she had just written. Ich bin nicht unsichtbar. I am not invisible. She smiled softly to herself. They all thought she was just the orphan who cleaned their shoes. But they didn't know the girl who never spoke was fluent in 9 languages. The sun had barely crossed the clouds when the office went stiff. Phones buzzed. Printers paused. People stood a little straighter. Even the AC seemed to hum more politely. He was coming. Mr. Pierre Duval, the French billionaire investor from Paris. No one had met him before, but everyone had Googled him. Owner of 5 companies. Net worth in billions. I speak only French. The HR manager rushed in, heels clacking, forehead sweating. Please, does anyone here speak French? She shouted. Silence. She looked around, panic in her voice now. Marketing team? Admin? Anyone? Mouths opened. Eyes dropped. Some giggled nervously. Others stared like children caught cheating. From the mop closet, Zara watched. She wasn't supposed to be listening. She wasn't even supposed to be in that part of the building, but she had been assigned to clean the hallway near the boardroom today. Her eyes moved slowly, calmly. She had read about Pierre Duval in a crumpled newspaper once. The article was in French. The HR woman ran a hand through her wig. If we mess this up, we lose a deal. Does anyone understand French? That's when it happened. A soft voice from the hallway, barely above a whisper. J.E. Pervuator, madam. Everyone turned. Time still stands. Zara stood there, mop in one hand, notebook half tucked in her wrapper, eyes lowered. A junior staffer snorted. Wait, what did she say? Is she okay? She said she can help. In French, whispered another. Laughter. Zara, our cleaner girl? Oh, please. The receptionist rolled her eyes. A bag, go mop toilet chair. But before anyone could speak again, the elevator dinged. The doors opened. He stepped out. Pierre Duval. Tall. Silver hair. Charcoal suit. No smile. Behind him, Mr. Kalu, the Nigerian billionaire CEO, walked beside him, nervous and stiff. Everyone bowed, greeted, pretended to smile. Pierre said something in French. Fast. Sharp. Seriously. The HR manager blinked. I'm sorry, sir. We'll get a translator. He frowned. Said something again, this time louder. Zara stepped forward. Excusez-moi, monsieur, she said clearly. Elle ne parle pas français. Mais J. Pervuator. Mr. Duval froze. His eyes narrowed. Vous parlez français? Zara nodded. Oui, monsieur. J. parle français espagnol allemand. Arabe. Et un peu de Mandarin aussi. Dead silence. No one laughed this time. Mr. Kalu's jaw tightened. Wait, what's going on? Zara looked up. Just slightly. I can speak to him, sir, she said softly. If that's okay. Pierre raised his hand. He spoke a sentence in Arabic. Fast. Complex. Zara replied. Then in German. Zara answered. Spanish. Zara smiled gently and responded. The whole hallway stood still. Mouths open. Eyes wide. Even the cleaner who had called her toilet, which yesterday stepped back slowly. Pierre chuckled. A real full chuckle. Magnifique, he said. He turned to Mr. Kalu. She's the smartest person in this building. They tried to silence her with a mop, but she spoke in 9 tongues and made silence obey her. Mr. Kalu looked at Zara, like he was seeing her for the first time. What's your name? He asked. She straightened her back slightly. Zara. Just Zara, sir. He nodded slowly. I want to see you after this meeting, he said. Then he turned and walked into the boardroom with Mr. Duval, leaving a hallway full of stunned, speechless adults behind. Zara bent down quietly, picked up her notebook, and walked away. No smile, no victory dance. Just the same silence she always carried. But this time it was respected. That night, Zara didn't sleep. She lay on the cold cement floor of her Annie's kitchen, the same place she returned to every day after work. A torn mosquito net hung from the ceiling, more decorative than useful. Crickets chirped outside, but inside, her chest was heavy with memories trying to escape. She stared at the zinc roofing, eyes wide open, because something had shifted. The billionaire had asked to see her. He'd looked at her like she mattered, and she didn't know what to do with that. As she stared into the dark, a voice whispered in her head, one she hadn't heard in years. Never speak too loudly, Zaram. Some people only listen when you whisper. Her mother's voice. Her mother, who had died holding her hand in a government hospital 5 years ago. Malaria and no money. Her father had already been gone by then. A hit and run on a rainy night. No justice. No tears left to cry. After that, Zara had become the child passed around. Uncles, aunties, people who fed her scraps and used her for errands. She never complained. She had seen what complaining did to other girls. It made them targets. So she became quiet. Not because she had nothing to say, but because she wanted to survive. At her lowest, when hunger punched her stomach like a fist, she wandered to the local dump near the train tracks. Not to find food, to find pages. She had heard someone say once, books are for rich children. So she went to where the rich threw theirs away. And that's where she found it. A torn French-English dictionary with no cover, half-burned and soaked in rainwater. But it had words. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. She dried the book in the sun. page by page. And every night, she copied words onto scraps of paper and whispered them to herself like prayers. Bonjour, merci, je suis une fille. I am a girl. Then came a Spanish grammar guide someone had dumped. Then a German children's storybook with stick figures. Then an Arabic holy book, half torn but readable. She didn't understand the faith. But the language, the rhythm, the beauty, she absorbed it. Sometimes she'd practice by reading ingredients on foreign product labels. Sometimes she'd hide behind the school she couldn't attend, listening to kids recite French aloud. She created her own classroom inside her mind. No walls, no cane, just languages and silence. One night, her auntie caught her whispering in Mandarin. "What is that demonic tongue again?" Zara said nothing. "You better stop before you lose your mind, or before I beat it out of you." She stopped speaking aloud after that, but she never stopped learning. She would lie on her mat and repeat the words inside her breath, so quiet even God had to lean closer to hear. Then came that one day, the first real turning point. At the corner of the street, a group of foreign aid workers were struggling to ask for directions in Hausa. Zara, only 11 at the time, had spoken up in perfect Hausa, then translated into English, then into French. The women started. One gave her a book. Another gave her a hug. None stayed. But it was the first time someone had looked at her with wide, open eyes, not because she was poor, but because she was brilliant. She wasn't given a voice, so she built one, word by word, language by language, silence by silence. Now, lying on the cold floor after what happened today, Zara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility. She didn't know what Mr. Kalu would say tomorrow. She didn't expect anything. But for the first time, the world had paused to listen. And maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't forget her so easily again. The next morning, Zara arrived earlier than usual. Not to clean, but because she didn't know where to stand. Should she go to the boardroom? Should she wait outside? She stood by the hallway near the janitor's closet, her familiar corner, the same place where she had spent months hiding behind mops and whispers. But now, she was waiting for a man who had said, "I want to see you after this meeting." At exactly 8 a.m., a voice called out from behind her, "Zara." She turned quickly. Mr. Kalu stood there, hands in his pockets, calm, curious. "Follow me." He didn't take her to the HR office, not to security, not even to the waiting room. He led her into his private conference room, the one with a polished glass table and a giant portrait of his younger self behind the desk. Zara had never seen the inside. It felt like stepping into another world. He sat. She stood. He didn't offer her a seat. Instead, he asked, "How many languages did you say you speak?" She replied quietly, 9, and "I'm learning Turkish, sir." He blinked. "Where did you learn them?" She looked down. "In books, from the trash." He raised an eyebrow. "And why?" She paused, then answered the only way she knew how. "Because silence hurts less when you can speak to yourself in different tongues." The room went quiet. Mr. Kalu leaned back. "You're too smart for this life, Zara, and too brave to waste." He pulled out an envelope, pushed it across the table. Zara didn't touch it. "Open it," he said. Inside, a letter of admission to a private international academy, a full scholarship, paid for by his company, a travel visa application, and a formal job offer as junior language consultant. Zara stared at the paper. Her hands trembled. "Sir, is this for me?" He smiled. "No, it's for the girl who stood in a hallway and spoke in 9 voices while the whole world stayed quiet." As she left the office that morning, Zara didn't cry. She didn't jump. She didn't laugh. She simply walked out with her head high, because for the first time in her life, she wasn't escaping pain. She was walking into purpose. 2 years later, a large press conference. Flags from 10 countries behind a long table. Cameras flashing. Reporters murmuring. At the center, a young woman in a navy blue suit, head held high, hair wrapped in silk. She adjusts the mic and speaks, fluently in French, then Spanish, then Arabic, then English. Each language is smooth, confident, graceful. The room falls silent with awe. After the speech, a reporter raises her hand. "Excuse me, where did you go to school?" Zara smiles gently. "Mostly the dump." Another reporter asks, "What drives you?" She looks into the crowd, eyes calm and powerful. Because somewhere out there, another girl is whispering words into the dark. I want her to know. The world will hear her one day. Back in her old neighborhood, children now point at her poster. Her auntie stares at the TV, stunned. The office staff who mocked her, they now read her interviews in magazines. And Zara? She visits schools where children have no books and gives them the ones she once had to dig for. She was once invisible, but now her silence speaks louder than any voice in the room. If you believe in second chances, like, share, and subscribe, because someone out there needs to hear this today.